Mic check. Hey everybody, welcome to the Horrors Icon panel. We have Kane, Hodder, we have Danielle Harris, and we have David Howard Thornton. Give it up for these icons!
Thank you guys. Good to be in here. It's an interesting venue, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean,
Orange lights.
little concerts and stuff, I guess.
Yeah. Are you gonna sing for us? Gonna dance a jig, Kane?
Yeah.
So guys, is everybody excited here? Let's give it up again. Warm welcome. Awesome. So, to get this show started, I kind of wanted to ask Danielle and Kane a question. Would you guys be open to talking about Holliston and maybe that particular scene? You know the scene I'm talking about, right?
No.
Danielle will elaborate.
Explain it to him. Which scene are you talking about?
There's like a pale-faced guy, Michael Myers, I think, is involved.
With a ball gag in his mouth?
Yeah, that sounds familiar. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that to break the ice?
Has anyone here seen that episode? Who's seen it? One person. 2 people. You want to talk? 3 people. Okay. Kane, you want to talk about
Go
it?
ahead. You're good at it. Come on.
So Adam Green, we all love Adam Green, right? So Adam likes to write parts for us that make us do really stupid shit for free.
Almost free, yes. True.
So we had this silly idea about this threesome scene between Kane and myself. Really, Adam just wanted to have it happen in real life.
He did.
I think that's what it was.
So we did do it
We did it.
for real,
Yeah.
and then we shot it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
So you warmed up, you got your practice in, and then you shot the scene. Got
He
it.
was wearing the mask with the ball gag and the Michael Myers mask. And then Kane came in ready to get it on in your Jason outfit. It was really funny, actually.
it really was.
It was fun.
I mean, it's fun working with Danielle and Adam anyway. And then when he comes up with shit like that, it's
You
amazing.
have to do it. You have to do it. You
Yeah.
just can't say no.
Now, David, do you have any interesting stories that are similar to that one?
Any sexual escapades? Yes, he does. You can tell.
When we were filming the laundromat scene, I'm sorry y'all had to see that, but
So that was your butt.
that was my tush.
Okay,
Yes.
all right.
I apologize.
Did you get paid extra for that?
No.
Oh my God.
We didn't have that kind of budget. Are you kidding me? It's a budget maybe, but yeah, I know. But that same time is like right after, because we did that in one shot, thank God. Because like a car honked and the sock I had covering everything up fell off. I was like, oh no! Because I jumped. And then all of a sudden the cop car pulls up. I'm like, oh no! And they're like, Dave, Dave's like, Dave, you should go over and fuck with the cops. So I'm like, no, not like this, not like this. And so I'm over there just huddled on the chair and I got the newspaper over me and stuff like that, covered in blood. All that fun stuff. The cop comes in. So it had to be, of course, a very attractive female cop too. I'm like, oh, great, of course.
Do you think it was a stripper?
Almost. Almost.
Awesome.
When it's 6 o'clock in the morning in New Jersey, you never know. So.
Do you like clowns, officer?
Yeah. He's so horny. No. But yeah, she comes in and it's like, we heard there was a clown covered in blood that came in here, and I'm like, hi, how are you? She's like, do you want to stand up? I'm like, no, you don't want that right now. She's like, oh yeah, I see why we're called, so yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a great story. I think this is a good icebreaker for sure.
You didn't tell about the cavity search.
Oh yeah.
We've all been there, haven't we?
It was almost like a puppet act.
No, I haven't either.
So obviously, Kane, Danielle, you guys have worked together. David, have you had the privilege of working with either of these two?
Well, not yet. Theoretically, though, Danielle and I are in a movie together coming out later on, hopefully this year, called Stream.
Stream,
not Stream, but Stream.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, like
Everybody in it.
Yeah.
The same guys that
Except
did
for Kane.
Terrifier. I know. How were you? How'd you miss out on that one?
I don't know. What is the significance of the title?
It's like stuff is streamed online.
a river,
Yeah.
which is exactly where my brain goes because I'm old enough to just think of
Yeah.
rivers.
But it's neat.
And you've disposed of a body in the river, I'm sure.
Well, I'm not going to talk to you about that.
No.
It's Dee Wallace, Tony Todd, Jeffrey Combs,
You.
Wow, what a great job.
Alyssa Rose,
Alyssa
Dave
Dee,
Sheridan,
Terry Kaiser's
Terry
there.
Kaiser.
Jeez.
Yeah,
There's some
it's
other
good.
people I can't name yet because they haven't released them yet. But I know also Damon Maffei's in it as well. So.
Yeah.
Oh,
How
very
many
cool.
of those names they just mentioned have I killed?
Oh,
In
no
movies.
Shit.
Jeez, several.
Sheridan, Felissa,
Oh, I thought
Terry
Felissa.
Kaiser.
Yeah.
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 Very cool.
Not me.
Not yet.
Never. Are you kidding?
Well, I think this has been a pretty good warm-up. I'd really like to open it up to the audience to ask questions. I do have a mic down here, so if you all just want to be kind to one another and line up in a courteous way, not throw elbows, that would be lovely.
Working? Oh. Hi.
Should be on. Go ahead and get right up there. It should work.
Yeah. Danielle, what did you draw on for your what was a near-death scene? I thought it was a death scene the first time I saw it in Halloween. Just that primal scene where you're crying out Lori and everything. It was just unbelievable. It was just devastating.
Yeah, that, I developed a close relationship with Scout pretty early on, and it's pretty easy to get into the character when you're literally naked, covered in blood on the floor, freezing, and there's a giant dude breaking the door down. So it doesn't take much preparation except to put myself in that space. In the original script, I was supposed to be in a bathtub of water, and then Lori comes in and finds blood dripping from the ceiling with Maya, and we cut that out because I just felt like it was too sort of staged, that I would be in water, but my head would be out. So we decided to just do it on the floor and just cover everything in blood. So it was. Scout still talks about how intense that scene was for her afterwards, her having to hold my my half dead body, and it's crazy. I don't know how now that would be. It probably would be even more intense to do it now that we're closer.
I just want to say Hatchet 3 is one of the greatest mega slaughter fests of all time.
Thank
So
you.
much of that.
Thank you.
This is a question for Kane. When you were in Friday the 13th, do you think it will be such a big phenomenon of a film decades later? Do you think it was going to be as big as it is now?
I think I did. Because, you have to remember, I didn't start till part 7.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah.
So there had been 6 films already. The
Yeah.
character was known
Already. Yeah.
around the world, literally. And just, it's hard to explain, but just try and imagine being in the position that I was in. John Beekler is insisting that I play Jason in his movie, Part 7, even though there had been 6 guys previous to me. And I never did an audition or anything. He just was convinced based on previous work we had done together. And it was just surreal to think, wait a minute, this is a character I've loved as a viewer for 6 films. Now it's going to be me. And it was hard to explain what an honor it felt like. And I thought I have to do whatever I can to do justice to the character. Because, with Victor Crowley, nobody had done it before, so it was all my character. I could do whatever I wanted, character-wise and stuff. But with Friday the 13th, I felt I had to not just ignore the past performances, just do what I liked, what other people did, and then add my own flavor to it. So I knew it was going to be a big life-changing moment. So, and I just expected to do one movie because that's all that anyone else had done. The fact that I did 4 in a row, it just, even more amazing. So.
I also wanted to say my mom is very jealous of me right now because she's in Massachusetts and she's upset that I'm seeing you and she isn't.
She could have come.
I told her about it and she
She said, fuck that.
Yeah, But I text her, I'm like, oh, I'm here by the way. And she's like, I'm almost 50. I should be meeting him first before you. And then she got mad at me when I texted her.
Almost 50, wow. I just had my birthday 2 weeks ago. How old am I? Okay, yeah. Next.
Hello, my name is Destiny. This is a question for all three of you collectively. What has been the most fun scene, like off the top of your head, that you guys have ever filmed?
Okay. I would say my favorite one was the costume shop scene in part 2. I just had so much fun. They just let me play. It's like, there's so many outtakes from that, like the whole entire rack of glasses, I went down every single pair on there and did different things with it.
Where did you shoot that?
In Abracadabra in New York City. It's a big, huge costume shop. So that there were so many props in there. Whoopee cushions, noisemakers, all that. I was just going to town. And there's probably another half of film right there of me just my antics in the shop and stuff like that. I love having those kind of moments just to play around. Because I think it's fun putting art in situations where you don't typically see a killer in, and like the laundromat scene, I think is a hysterically funny scene too.
Very good scene.
Just he's doing his laundry. I'm like, it's like it explains why he gets clean all of a sudden. It's like, I just love that kind of stuff because it takes him out of that fantastical realm and puts him in a very real realm. So it's also kind of scary in that same way because like, oh God, you could just run into a guy like this in a place, especially in somewhere like New York City. I have been in those situations where I've been on the subway late at night, and I'm like, oh God, this could easily be a horror movie. This is crazy. So I love those type of moments.
I'm always on the receiving end, so. It's usually the most fun at my expense, pretty much. Like, the Hatchet movies are probably the most fun because they're the most ridiculous. I remember there was I think it's the beginning of 3, where I had like Adam. It's right after I shot you, and then I don't know where all the blood was coming from. Maybe it was the big chainsaw. I just remember Adam, and then blanking on everyone's name right now. Our other effects guys with those like pressurized canisters full of blood. And I just had to stand there, and then they were below shooting up, and they were just like, action, and they just covered me. It was all over. I was choking. I couldn't even breathe. And they were laughing and cheering, and I was just like, guys, I'm drowning. And they just thought it was great. So, but they're fun, you know.
It looked good.
But it looked great. Yeah, it looked awesome. So usually fun at my expense.
2 things come to mind for me. I've talked about it quite a bit, but being in the entire costume with hockey mask in Times Square was just unbelievable. I don't think it could ever happen again. That we had most of Times Square blocked for us to shoot the film. And the fact that there were hundreds of people watching behind police barricades, everybody being held back, and I'm out in the middle of Times Square by myself, looking around, fucking with people by staring at them and threatening people, and it was just an amazing experience. But the thing that really was so much fun and technically difficult to accomplish was in the first Hatchet, when the older lady tries to run away from me. I'm not crazy about that. So I catch her from behind and put my hands in her mouth and rip her head apart by her jaw. Great scene, but difficult because it was a makeup effect that took forever to build, and it was a one-take deal. Once I ripped that thing apart by the jaw, there was no reshooting. So Adam was so nervous because he knows my history of being a little unpredictable on the set when I'm playing characters like this. But he says, what we're going to do is you're going to grab Patrika, the actress, and then as the camera does a 360 around, that's when we're going to switch the prosthetic head that you can tear apart. But he was so worried that the camera wouldn't land in the right place and I'd already pulled the head apart or something, and it wouldn't be captured on film. And he was terrified that I would fuck it up because I would pull the head too early or something. So it was a very tricky challenge to do it correctly, and it worked out so well. You can't see the edit, that obviously anyway, between the actress and the prosthetic head. And I just think, one of my favorite, it is my favorite kill that I've ever performed, and I believe that I have, if you take out a gun out of the equation, I believe I have killed more people on film than any actor in history. And I really do, because four Fridays, 4 Hatchets, all these other movies, BTK and Ed Gein, all these things that I did, I don't think anybody's killed as many people, and I've never used a gun. So, you know, when you kill people with sleeping bags and bare hands and, you know, shoving, Felissa, that kill, if you remember that. But I think that was probably the most enjoyable because it worked out so perfectly.
Thank you all so much. I appreciate you answering.
This is a question for Kane. Out of the 4 movies that you played with Jason in, which one is your favorite kill?
I mean, obviously I loved playing the character every time, but part 7 will still always be my favorite because I'm a stuntman for 45 years, and typically I think that's the only Friday movie that Jason ever really was effectively battled because she had the telekinetic powers or whatever. So I had to do a lot of stunts as the character, which is very satisfying when that's what you do for a living. And the makeup looked the best. It'll always be my favorite movie, and it happens to have my favorite kill, which is sleeping bags. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Yep.
Quick comment for Danielle. I'm a huge fan of the show Psych, and I absolutely love a guest character that you play on that because I think you're one of the few people that actually bests Sean Spencer. You are quicker-witted than he is, which his whole thing is being quick-witted. So you're just
lives like crazy.
You are an outstanding character, so memorable in that episode. But back to the horror because I think that's why we're all here. I'm interested in what has been some of the most difficult shooting that you've ever had, whether it was sort of time on set or the difficulty of sort of the shot. What has just been a time where you're like, this sucks, like this is hard.
Every movie has days that suck. Trust me. You know, they're low budget. We just talked about this. You're freezing. There's no creature comforts. You know, and you're doing really emotional stuff, and the movie production schedule gets shorter and shorter and shorter. So now when we did Halloween, we had 3 months to shoot it. I don't know how long it took you to do Friday. How many months did you shoot Friday?
It depends on which one, but part 7 was like 7 weeks,
Yeah.
and then with the Jason X, that was 12 weeks.
And how many days did you do Hatchet, Crowley, the last one?
The last one, 15 or something.
I mean, most of the shoots are like 11 days, so
Yeah.
it's a lot of like hurry up and go. And then there's sometimes where it depends. Sometimes the directors are kind of pain in the ass, or there's always kind of something. But for the most part, it's really fun because we work with the same people over and over again in our little world. So you kind of know what you're getting yourself into, and that's why we keep doing what we're doing.
Awesome. Definitely sensing the camaraderie. You guys are name dropping all over the place. I got to put these people on. Thank you so much for being here today.
I have a question for you. No. You mentioned about actors that ad-lib a lot. Do you enjoy that, or would you rather stick to what is scripted?
It depends. Well, there's a couple things. If an actor's ad-libbing, we just talked about this on my show, curse words, it's usually because the dialogue is written really shitty, or they're searching for their lines. So when you watch something now and you see they're saying the word fuck every other word, you're like, they didn't write that in there. So
They went up on
they were just like, I'm so over this scene right now. I can't make this shit come out of my mouth and sound realistic. I don't mind ad-libbing. There's some actors that will ad-lib because they want their monologue time on screen, and you're like, oh God, here we go. I prefer to say nothing and to give all my lines away. You know, I'll go to set and I'm like, I'm gonna cut this, because I don't want to say anything. If I could just show up and not have any dialogue, I'd be very happy. It's great, isn't it?
I certainly know that too.
It's great.
Oh man, it's.
Do you like ad-lib actors or?
It depends on the situation, because it depends on the scene. If it's like a more serious, dramatic scene, no. But if it's like comedy, yeah, it depends what it lends itself to. It's like the costume shop scene. That's where I got to ad lib and stuff,
Right.
and that was fine because it didn't also impact other people's performance. But when it takes away from what the other person's doing, then that it might throw the other person off, and you don't want to do that.
I like ad-libbing in emotional situations, like if there's something really intense that's going on and being able to like take more time, because I never really write dialogue for that,
Right.
those scenes. So to be able to have a little bit of a breath and get there emotionally, that I like.
It's got to be organic.
Yeah.
And I agree that it's certainly easier to do within a comedic
Yeah.
scene. I mean, what comes to mind is I did a film with, I think I've done, 20 films with Mosley now, with Bill Mosley. And he and I did one called Old 37. And we were brothers who drive an ambulance, and we have a scanner, and we respond to 911 calls before the real people get there. And we take people in our ambulance, take them away, and do horrible fucking things to them. But there was a scene where we have a junkyard where our ambulance is parked, and we run a junkyard, and the sheriff comes by to question us because he feels that there's something weird about our junkyard and some connection to the violent activity going on. So he comes, and the scene is written with, I never speak. I have a mask on, I don't speak. Mosley does all the talking. And the sheriff at one point asks Bill, is there anybody else here that I should talk to? And Bill's scripted line was, nobody here but us chickens. And that was a cut. And then Bill says, hey, can we do that again? And I thought, okay. So we do it again. He says, nobody here but us chickens. And then he looks at me and says, show him the chicken dance, dumbass. And he makes me dance like a chicken. So I went with it. I started clucking around and fucking doing this and making like I was a chicken. And I thought it was brilliant because one quick shot, you feel sympathy for me because he always abuses me and I can't speak and all that stuff. And it also shows how much of an asshole he is. And I thought it was fun to react to something that was never discussed. But again, in the comedic realm.
Bill's so witty and smart and offbeat that's like perfect for him.
I was more used to just improvising because I was a stage actor for so long. When I would improv was when something would go wrong on stage, which you don't have to worry about as much in film because you can just go and do another take. Right. But when you're on stage, something goes wrong, someone forgets to enter. What happened one time, I was in a show, and the actor forgot to come out on stage because they were taking forever with their costume change. I was out there improvising with another person. The person just basically stood there the whole entire time just going, for like 5 minutes. And the actor's on the side of the stage just watching what's going on. They're like, get out there! He's doing it because of you, dumbass! It was just one of these, sometimes I just get in the moment and I'm just there and I can just keep going and going and going and going and going. But it was like, I mean, I love those kind of moments on stage.
That's a little excessive though.
Yeah, oh yeah. But I was just in that zone and just flowing. I was like, that was fun. But but that's, on stage, on film, you don't really have those moments. So it's different.
Loomis, what do you think of people improvising their lines?
Yeah, I question. It's for my patient actually, but he's kind of mute, so I want to make sure that I can ask him for him. So, question for you, Danielle. When you auditioned for Halloween 4, were you already a fan of horror movies at that young age, or was it just a great opportunity for you?
I don't think I've really seen any. I mean, I've seen like Gremlins and a couple of, E.T. was scary for me back then.
E.T. was scary for me, like always.
My mom had to take me out of the theater. I was terrified.
E.T.'s a bitch.
Really scary.
I was 3.
Oh my God. So I didn't really have much of a gauge of, I learned to love it after the fact. So I didn't really know what I was getting myself into.
Thank you all for being here today.
Thanks.
All three of you have played some of my favorite characters in horror movies, and to me, I told Dave this earlier, that Art the Clown seems like the biggest evolution of the slasher movie character, but right before that, I thought Victor Crowley was, and I had wondered if either one of you would be open to ever doing like a versus movie with Art the Clown versus Victor Crowley, and then Danielle, would you like to show up as Mary Beth and either kill both of them or kill whoever lives at the end?
I would like to violently fucking kill Art the Clown. No offense, but I mean,
I'd like to just tip him, so there you go.
I take down both these motherfuckers.
Oh my God, bring Sienna in, that would be
I'm
amazing.
just saying.
Oh my God, that would be fun.
So yes, we would.
Yeah. Adam, Damien.
Yeah, exactly.
I've actually always talked about, and it sounds like a joke, but not meant to be. I would love to do a Jason versus Michael film where I play both characters somehow. I don't know how that would work, but that would be cool as hell. Because I've always loved the Michael Myers character almost as much as Jason as a viewer, and that'd be amazing. I mean, I did kind of do a Michael Myers thing with Adam Green. Anybody know that? Called Driving Lessons. And it was with Joel David Moore, who was in the first Hatchet. And he's a driving instructor because somebody says in one of the Halloween movies, well, how the hell did Michael get from here to here? Did he drive a car? And so it's a scene of me as Michael with the mask on, learning how to drive. It's pretty funny.
Parallel parking, I'm just imagining it might be great.
So David, I gotta know who was the madman genius who, in the bedroom scene in Terrifier 2, who was like, after this just brutal kill, would it be hilarious? Just have him make like a sitcom encore entrance and just with bleach and salt.
That was a combination of both Damien and I just spitballing ideas back and forth. He came up with the idea. He wanted to do like bleach and maybe like or like a cleaning fluid or something like that. I'm like, well, what about salt? That's the idiom of pour salt in the wound. I'm like, how has this never really been done in a horror movie before? Let's actually do that. Just put salt in the wound and go from there. And there's a lot of different outtakes from that too. I was just doing all kinds of fun things like the salt bay, all that kind of stuff. So I had fun with that. But that's what Dane is so great about this kind of stuff. He's got a brilliant mind. He's also very collaborative. He likes to, like, if people in the crew or even have ideas, he's like, hey, let's try that. Let's go with it. And, he's good with just going on the fly if stuff goes wrong. Like, great example of this is the scene of where I'm down there getting water in the kitchen. That wasn't in the script. That night, I was originally just supposed to go through that big, huge glass door and just come charging through at Alley. And it was late at night, and we had to film it that night. And they opened up the box that had the sugar glass in it, and it was already broken. And we're like, shit, what are we going to do? Because there's no way we can get another replacement. We only have this one night to film this. And like Damien and I put our heads together because we had a scene where it's like, well, we could show Art later on taking a break during the killing, going down and doing something. It's like, well, why don't we just put that here? And he's already come in and he's just getting a drink of water and everything, just taking his time making himself at home before Allie sees him, and because I thought that was a very chilling thing too. He's just made himself at home. He knows he's got her, so he's like, yeah, I'm gonna get a drink of water and just chill out here and wait for her to come down and see me and then chase her. And it was just one of those happy accidents. It was like, yeah, this is great, and it's one of my favorite little bits in the movie.
Almost worked out better.
Yeah, I think it really did, because that would have just been a very stereotypical and just charging through a window type of thing, and we made it a whole new bit. That's just how it is. It's like the whole team just comes together on these type of things, and it works.
Thank you.
Thanks. When we arrived in Mobile, Alabama to shoot Friday, Part 7, John Beekler and I, before we started principal photography, we're doing some makeup tests and stuff, and he and I went to a hardware store just to look around and see if there was any unique tools that we might be able to use. And that's when we came across the weed whacker thing. 6 feet long with a circular saw blade on the end. And we were both, as soon as we saw it, we looked at each other, we said, we're using that. And I didn't even know that kind of tool existed. You know, you see with the fishing line thing and all that, but a circular saw blade, yeah. And so we immediately purchased it and used it.
Next question.
So, when are we going to see Victor Crowley resurrected?
Well, no plans in the near future, I know that much. But I know Adam. She knows Adam. I wouldn't be surprised if it's in the back of his mind to do another one, and I gotta kill that bitch.
Never. He's never gonna kill this bitch.
Thank you.
Hi, y'all. How have you seen horror as it feels sort of, horror on screen sort of shift during your time? And what are you most excited about to see where horror on screen is going?
Well, we're going back to the theaters, thanks to this movie.
Yeah, Terrifier 2 in theaters.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's a big deal.
Absolutely true.
That is a big deal. We tried to do it with Hatchet. Hatchet 2 was just too soon.
What, didn't you get, was it like a night or something? You guys got pulled immediately?
I think so. That's what happened, right? The ends ago. Yeah. It was too much. It was too gory. It's supposed to be funny.
It's very funny, and you can. I mean, it's not supposed to be like real. It's supposed to be fun.
I mean, bad press is good press, right?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And when we did Part 7 of Friday, it was so disappointing. It opened on Friday the 13th, 1988, at the big theater at the Chinese Theater in Hollywood. In the big one, it was jam-packed, and it was amazing to experience that. But the movie was so eviscerated by the ratings board. They made us cut everything out of the movie. It's still decent, but some of the effects that Pendergraft did and Beekler were so amazing, and you never got to see it. So I'm hoping that getting back to the theaters might, it was just bad timing then, but it's so much fun to go to a movie that you've done in a big theater with an audience. We do miss that. So Terrifier is bringing it back.
That's definitely the hope. That's the hope, and I think it's. Oh no, and I think he's also helping a lot of indie films right now too, because he had like Skin and Marink and Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey come out, Mean One, and all that kind of stuff. And yes, and that's the thing. I think people have discovered. I think Hollywood's now discovering this, that oh yeah, audiences like the gore and the fun, over the top blood and guts and all that kind of stuff. It puts butts in seats. People will come out and see it. And I think it's going to help all of us.
I think it's because that's our generation.
Yeah.
Like we are the generation of the theater goers. We didn't have streaming, so we are really the ones that are going back into the movies to see these movies.
So we are getting low on time. I think I see 3 questions, but maybe 2 of you haven't asked yet. Is that accurate? Okay, so I've got room for 2 more questions, and then I've got 1 more question for you folks, and then we're wrapping up. So go ahead.
My question is, I recently got into the horror genre, and I've yet to find a horror movie that has really scared me. What is the scariest horror movie you've ever watched?
Well, I can answer, it's an old-ass movie, but from as long as it's been since this movie came out, I'm amazed at how good it still is. And it's the only movie that ever made me feel uncomfortable. I was only, I guess, 19 when it came out. The Exorcist.
Very scary.
Still a good movie, and scary as hell back then. None of you were old enough to have seen it in theaters, but when it first came out, it was such untouched material. That whole scene, it was terrifying. And I still think it's a good movie. Still my favorite horror movie of all time, if you want to call it a horror movie. I guess it is, but I think it's great.
Well, it's Poltergeist for me. Same thing. I think that was one of the first ones that I saw that really, and also because, her and I were a similar age.
Well, and Craig T. Nelson is terrifying.
Oh, yeah. I mean, just the fact that is, it felt like it was real to me. So that kind of shit scares me. I'm not really into I'm not into the sci-fi kind of stuff. That doesn't really scare me as much. The real killer next door, or these characters, it fucking freaks me out. So, but for sure, Poltergeist would be the scariest still.
That's the one that scared me a lot too as a kid. That's the first one I saw, and my mom actually used that movie to get me to behave, because I used to sit in front of the TV and block the view. And my mom said, you know what happens if you sit that close in front of the TV, you're gonna get sucked in the TV. Like a little girl. And I'm like, oh no! And I would give the TV if it was on a wide berth for years because of that movie. So that was definitely one of the ones. Also, I would say...
Try that with my kids.
Oh yeah, do it. Oh, my mom was good at that kind of stuff. She also told me if I ate my boogers, that those were worm eggs. And they would hatch in my stomach, and I would have worms in my stomach, and I would have to get my...
Is that true, though? Is that... That's a true thing.
No,
I've heard.
No, not.
Come on, eat a booger. Let's see.
It's protein. No kidding. But Force Exorcist is another one, but also Texas Chainsaw Massacre scared the crap out of me too, because it was just so it made you feel gross watching it, especially the dinner scene with the family. That scene always is when the finger is put in Grandpa's mouth. I'm just like, because you thought he was dead that whole entire time, and all of a sudden, I'm like, oh God, no. Because I'm from the South, and I know I have family members that are kind of like that way too. And I'm like,
let's do a movie about him.
Oh, come on, no.
Okay, the old grandpa.
Oh yeah, from down there in Lower Alabama, as we call it, L.A. You don't go to L.A.
So I think it's still the stuff that how we were first introduced to horror is still what scares us to this day, I think.
Yeah, I think that's true.
I think that's true for me as well. Next question.
Okay, first I want to say that I love you guys. I grew up watching you guys and horror movies. A lot of kids have Disney. I had horror movies growing up. You guys kind of shaped who I am as a person today. So I want to thank you for that. But my question is, you three play some of the most iconic characters in horror. And my question is, where do you find the inspiration for these characters?
Okay, wow.
Our lives are fucked up.
Yeah.
Me too. Have you met my
Just
mother?
raw personal experience.
I mean, if you really just sat down and heard our stories about our upbringing, I don't know David's, but I just got a little glimpse. So, I mean, you pull from your past, I think, sometimes, and you just have fun with it.
Yeah, for me, for art, I have tons of places I pulled from. First of all, I had a great person that played before me. I mean, I can relate with Kane having to take over the reins from someone else. It's very daunting, but they made my job easier in some ways too. Mike Gianelli, who was the original art in All Hallows Eve, he set a great foundation for me. But I wanted to add more to art, And so he was a clown, and that was always my area of expertise in comedy. When I was doing stage work, I always did physical comedy, and I was like, well, he's a clown, he's a silent clown, let's pull from the silent film era. Let's do a lot of Keaton and Chaplin, let's do some Peter Sellers, Doug Jones. I pulled from all these, Mr. Bean, and then I also had my great, my good friend, Stephen Carl, who was Robbie Rotten from Lazy Town. I was his understudy.
So good.
Stephen was amazing, and I was his understudy for 5 years with How They Were Stole Christmas the Musical, and so I learned a lot from him. You could probably look at my performances of art and see a lot of Robbie Rotten.
It's funny you say that because I, as an adult, watched so much Lazy Town. It was so awesome, and yeah, there's definitely, I see that now that you mention it.
So that's where I got a lot of the clowning from, was from, because he was actually studying clowning and mime work. But also, I looked at art as basically being the ultimate slasher fanboy. And there's a little bit of every single horror icon that comes from before him in him.
There's so many Easter eggs.
Everybody's in him. And I look at him as a love letter to the genre. And so, of course, Kane was a big, huge inspiration. There's some Jason there. There's actually a bit in part 2 when at the very beginning of the movie, when I come out from the corner and I'm standing there breathing and the shoulders, and then I'm like, the thing was like, do a little nod to Kane here, and I'm like, all right,
That's cool.
yeah. So that's what I did.
And for me, it sounds stupid, I know, and get ready to groan and roll your eyes, but I've been talking about this fairly recently. I really feel like I was born to play Jason. I know. God, please, a fucking affected motherfucker. But it felt easy to me. I've always had a bad temper with people that I think are assholes. But so bringing the rage was always easy. And, being a fan of the character, I tried to add some things to the character that maybe hadn't been done, like the breathing and, other things. In fact, one of the early times I did a convention, a fan said, you know what I love about your performance the most is when you turn to chase someone. You always turn your head and then your body. And I was like, I do? I didn't even know I did that. It wasn't on purpose thing. It was just something that felt natural. And over the years, I realized that my favorite scenes that I do as Jason are stuff that I didn't think too much about. I just did what felt right. And for the most part, I think it worked. So no real drawing on anything else.
Well, see, that's also what that is how predators actually act. That's kind of what I did with art. I kind of based them on a vulture, and vultures first look at something, then they turn their head. And that's kind of, because it's always with the eyes. They lead with the eyes, right? And then the body follows.
Well, guys, thank you so much. I've got to wrap questions. We've got to wrap up, but there is one more question I have for Danielle. Kane, you kind of touched on it, and David, you kind of touched on it. What's it like playing a role where somebody else has kind of, they played the role first and you have to step into it?
I mean, it's easy for me because I'm the one stepping into it.
Sure.
I mean, I have fan love forever, so it would be much harder for her if I had done it first and then Tamara came in and replaced me.
Gotcha.
She probably would have gotten a lot more shit. But I auditioned for the first Hatchet, and I just didn't get the job. So I thought it would be too cliche to have so many horror icons in the movie, and then he kind of crawled back for the second one and was like, I'm sorry.
Well,
But that feels natural too. Like I see that. Like I feel more Mary Beth than any of the roles I played in between.
You guys are all really great in the roles that you stepped into, and you've brought so much life to them, and now you guys are kind of the faces of those roles. So I think that we would all like to thank you for not only that, but for being here